crazy. So this went down at like 2 in the morning. Okay.
Yeah.
I woke up. So I had to get up relatively early today, whatever, for some other stuff. But my son starts texting me at like 6 a.m. And now you know how that is. When you get that text, you think something's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? And he's like, you believe what they got? And I'm like, huh? Anyway, so this is, if for people who don't know, let's let them know what happened. So Harden, PJ Tucker, Philip Petrusev are all going to the Clippers. By the way, Harden gets what he wants ultimately in the end, which, you know, but anyway, so that's who's going to the Clippers. Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum, KJ Martin, 2028 unprotected first round, second round, 2029 swap pick, first round rerouted by the third team, which is looking like Oklahoma City. Comes back to the Sixers. They also have to waive Danny Green in this to make, you know, room for him financially and all that. Morris, Covington, Batum, and Martin are all expiring too, Derek. So first of all, let me just say, I love this deal. I love it. I saw somebody in the chat saying that the Sixers got fleeced. I totally disagree with that. I don't think they got fleeced at all. Considering, you know, you were up against it with Harden, with the nonsense he was pulling. He was probably going to balk at going anywhere else, and therefore those teams wouldn't trade for him if he wasn't going to play for them. To get all these guys, and you can offload them, basically, you can either, you know, ride it out this year and clear the deck completely, right, and be total players financially. I mean, I think you're only committed to like Embiid. Obviously, they got to re-sign Maxey at some point.
Maxey,
you're going to have a lot of financial flexibility, and now a bunch of first rounders that you can turn around and flip in a deal. I actually, and I've been, you know me, I've been very critical of Morey. I think this is a good deal. I like this.
You got a bunch of tweeners back between 6'6" and 6'8". No scoring help. None of these guys are going to give you much scoring help.
Yeah.
You got some guys that'll help you on the boards, and depending on which ones you decide you want to keep. The Sixers will have anywhere between 50 and 65 million in cap space this year. I think the way they're structured now, number one, Joel Embiid can breathe easier and doesn't have to talk about Harden on a daily basis. Right. Number two, I'm looking at the way the scrappy Sixers are playing right now, and I still believe they could win 45, 50 games because outside of 4 teams in the East, maybe, there's not a lot of – the East is not nearly as strong as the West again.
Right.
So you can put yourself – even if you're not the 1 seed, at the very, very worst, the Sixers will be the 4 seed, so you'll be a playoff team. And if Harden's looking at the bigger – I'm not Harden. If Embiid's looking at the bigger picture, you have a lot more cap space to do some things to get some prominent players in here next year.
Right on. Now you see a future more if you're Embiid. Yes. You see a path, at least, a pathway.
And depending on how the season goes, if Embiid is being realistic, and I understand, you know, his comment this morning, this summer resonates. I want to win a championship. Now, he's 30, 31 now. Yep. So is he willing to wait for another group to formulate? Obviously, how does he feel about Nick Nurse after this season? And
that's huge too. That's huge too.
As well. What direction is this team going in? I don't want, at this stage of my career, I don't want to be a part of a reclamation project. I bring in some legit firepower to make us a legit contender. You know, like Milwaukee did, the way Boston reloaded with Drew Holiday. And, you know, bring me in some legit, then I'll consider staying again, you know.
Yeah, and I think this allows you to be like quick fix. You can really flip it quick here.
Yes.
With the way that they're set up right now. You get off a you know, not a great contract in Tucker, who's under his deal for this year and next year, okay, as an older player who provides nothing for you offensively. We know he's scrappy. We know he's going to do dirty work and all that, but that's also good getting out from under that, I believe.
You know.
You petting the dog? Let's see her. Or him. What do we have?
No, I said scrap. PJ Tucker is scrappy.
Oh, I thought you said you were petting your dog.
No.
I think the other thing too is, like, I like KJ Martin. He's very athletic.
Yeah.
And he's not just a dunker. Like, he can do other things too. He might be a keeper. The rest of the guys are either going to be gone real soon or at the end of the year. The other guys are just older expirings. That's all that is.
Batum is what, 34? Morris is 34. You know, they're both 6'8".
Tucker's up there. Yeah, they're just move on. There, and these, do you know how valuable these picks are too, Gunner? You got a bunch here of ones now that you can flip to. And I just looked at it. How frustrating was it this past offseason where they couldn't be real players? Like they weren't even a thought in Damian Lillard. They weren't even a thought in Drew Holiday. They weren't a thought, in some of these other guys. So now all of a sudden, somebody on a team, let's say a team underachieves this year, and we know how this works in this league. The superstar gets disgruntled. He wants out of there. You're in a position now to add compliments to Maxey and Embiid, where you weren't before this deal. And here's the other part. And I know this is like, I'm looking at this very much from a fan standpoint. I'm excited again. I feel rejuvenated again to get rid of just the clouds lifted of Harden. And I feel like, with Nick Nurse being there, with the way Maxey's playing, by the way, kudos to Maxey. He gets the Eastern Conference Player of the Week, deservedly so.
Yep.
With that, all that to me, and I actually watched the first 3 games, but I get where Sixers fans were like, I'm done with this. I'm sick of it. I don't want to hear about Harden. Now all that's gone, and you can kind of just get back into them again. I think that's a really positive thing for Sixers fans who love the team.
There's no question about it. Now, obviously, they've got to win, and how excited will you be if let's say they only won 40, 42 games? Right. What is your perspective? I honestly believe they could win 45, 50. If they won 40, 42 games, what's your perspective then at that point?
I'm actually a lot more optimistic and a lot more willing than I normally would be. Like my normal outlook would be, screw it. This is the same thing. Second round bounce. Here we go again. But I really feel like it's different now, simply because they're going to have so much financial and roster flexibility. The optionality is the word that Hinkie used to use. I know people don't want to hear any of that, but they do have optionality now to be able to do some things. They're not winning anything this year, in my estimation.
No.
They're certainly not better than Milwaukee or Boston. And we could argue Miami, we could argue some other teams. Definitely not better than those two. But I think in the offseason, they can right this ship and make themselves real legitimate contenders again, which I get all of it, because it's like, didn't we just go through this crap? Yeah, we did. But this is how you pivot out of the mess that was created by a lot of mistakes along the way.
Yeah. I think the Sixers finally saved face with this deal. And the true basketball fans on this end understand. First of all, you got rid of a pariah. Second of all, what you're getting back in return is not going to be great help. You like KJ Martin. Okay, he might fit in here.
If not, he's at the end of his deal too. He could walk through.
All these guys, you got to look at the bigger picture. I mean, if you're really smart about this, 82 games is a long time to weather the storm in terms of watching this team, but you have to keep saying to yourself, okay, this is 1 year. We can come out of this on the other side smelling like a rose if we do things the right way. And hopefully they will with the volume of cap space and the draft capital they have. Who knows? They may finish high enough, and I'm talking about in the top 12, 13. They might get a legitimate pick. They may, out of one of these picks they decide to keep. If they decide to keep one of these high picks, you don't know. You know, so you can build with youth and veteran presence if this thing falls the right way for you.
I agree with you. Look, I agree with you. I think it's a positive step, and it doesn't mean by any stretch all of a sudden they just vaulted into something. They haven't. This is a deal for the future. This isn't a deal for the now. Like, you didn't improve your squad all that much with a bunch of guys who were on the back end of their careers. That's not what it was. You were in a position where it was a very tough spot for Daryl Morey. And granted, he created a lot of this mess himself. So I'm not excusing him. But I think, to all things considered, I like what they did here. I like the thought to the future. He is very quietly put a team together with a lot of expiring contracts where they can do a lot of things. But the problem was, even with the expiring contracts, you still didn't have a lot of valuable assets. Like, teams love expiring guys. Like, you could flip a lot of these guys. And you could flip a lot of these picks even now, potentially in season, and get quality players here to team with be. So there's a lot of things that could happen. It's a very sort of TBD, to be determined, where this goes. But it was the right step.
Can you imagine how awkward that had been to have Harden sitting on the bench or forced to play him when you don't want him there. He doesn't want you there. And it came out that he has a whole repertoire of ways to be disruptive on this team.
Yeah.
What if he could pull the show up for 5 games, disappear for a game, show up for 3 games, disappear for, I mean, or if he doesn't play, just to have him sitting on the bench for 41 home games?
Yes.
So I'm glad they got rid of this 3 games into a season instead of 30 games into a season.
I agree with you too. And the other thing is there's all of that you just laid out. It's also like I just didn't want him out there with the ball in his hands, eating clock, Maxey sort of running around, you know, like a nut trying to get the ball, never to get the ball.
Yeah.
Don't mess with Maxey. Let him do his thing. Let him figure out the combo guard / point guard spot. Let he and Embiid do their thing. It just, you're better off. I try to say this to people, like everybody, I would argue with people or debate with people, and they'd always say, I want value. I want value. I'm like, sometimes you're better off just moving on from a situation.
See, Big Sills says, was Harden more of a distraction than Simmons? Absolutely. Absolutely. Simmons was just quiet about his disappearing act.
Mm-hmm.
James Harden started this mess over in China and then brought it back to U.S. soil. He was very verbal, very public, in front of the cameras, any chance he got to make sure you understood, I am not playing for the Sixers. I cannot repair my relationship. You know, with Simmons, he just took his shots quietly. He never came out and publicly tried to defend himself the way James Harden did, you know.
Yeah. It was just it was headed for even more of a headache and just a mess. All right. I mean, really was. The Fitness Rebel's right. Harden just got here a minute ago, and all of a sudden it's crazy. It is. It's the way, it's unfortunate the way the league has sort of gone with a lot of this stuff. And you know, in the end game, like I said earlier, he acts like a brat and he gets his way. You know, that's the shame of it. Like it, you know, I don't think they even have toy stores anymore. But remember, when you were a kid, you'd be in a toy store and you'd see some kid rolling around on the floor because his parents wouldn't get him the present that he wanted.
Yep.
This is like rewarding the kid and giving him the gift that he wanted instead of just saying, you better get your rear end up right now, or we're leaving this place. And unfortunately, in that league, the brats get rewarded. It's a shame.
Just to appease him, to keep him quiet. You gave him what he wanted. Now, on paper, you know, James Harden with Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Russell Westbrook, it looks like a formidable group. I don't think they come anywhere close to winning a championship.
No, I mean, first of all, there's a lot of injuries waiting to happen there. Yep. A lot of time missed, right?
Kawhi in particular, yes.
Yeah, right. There's only one ball. You're going to have guys who are upset because they're not getting their touches, and they're not able to put the numbers up that they're accustomed to. Because think about that. If you have Kawhi, Paul George, Harden, Westbrook all on the floor at the same time, man, you know, that's a lot of alpha males that want to score the ball. Not a lot of guys who are looking to distribute a ton.
I'm sorry, the Russell Westbrook of OKC is not the Russell Westbrook we see today. He plays out of control. I mean, he's a great athlete, but plays out of control a lot of times, costs the team turnovers. I'm not as much of a fan of Russell Westbrook today as I was like 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, I just think you're right. I think there's too many ball hogs on that team that it's going to be more of a detriment than an asset.
Yep.
I don't see I don't see James Harden going out there being a distributor. You know. No, I don't either. Because here's why. We know he's capable of doing it, but he said after the season, he sacrificed his game and he's not happy about it. He wasn't happy about it. He wanted to get back to being his old self. Okay. Well, good luck, Clippers. He's their problem now. That much is for sure. All right. Let's get a timeout, Gunner, where we will set our sights on the Eagles. We got the trade. So the trade deadline, Derek, right now, 4.5 hours away. We are 4.5 hours away from the NFL trade deadline. There has been a name that's popped up from a team that's going nowhere who could absolutely help this team. And we'll discuss it when we come back. In addition, we'll look at the good and the bad. Yes. Just to share this with you, a while ago, I put out to people in the know, at the NovaCare complex, hey, are you guys working on some things? You go, we are working on some stuff. And I said, is it a major move or just a move for depth? No response in that regard. But Howie Roseman, so he's talking to somebody about something. So we'll see.
No, I mean, look, don't ever count him out. That much we know. All right, let's get a timeout. Let's discuss it when we come back. He's Derek. I'm Rob. We are Sports Take. Let's smash the like button, friends, if we could. Speaking of like, yeah, this is love. How about Bravo Pizza of Havertown? Yes, Bravo Pizza of Havertown, family owned since 1985. Alex and the great crew providing unbelievable food daily. They offer 20 different styles of pizza. They have slices to go. They have the specialized pie. However you like it, they will make it. But it's not just pizza. Fresh pasta, sandwiches, wraps, wings, salads. Bravo Pizza of Havertown's also committed to the community. They have fundraisers for charities, for schools, for little leagues, where the proceeds go to those organizations. You can follow them at the Bravo Pizza of, on Instagram and Facebook for daily specials and promotions. They're located at 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown, Pennsylvania. 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center, Havertown. Give them a call, 610-446-3810, 610-446-3810. Here's more from Bravo Pizza of Havertown.
I remember getting my heart broken when they lost the Super Bowl in 2004. We're big Eagles fans. We moved to South Philly because of the Eagles. When they won, we went straight to Broad Street, and everybody was going nuts over there, and it was just a memory that you'll never forget.